Okay, now we're ready to do some data analysis. I'm going to go back to my game plan and see what it is I need. The first thing I need to do is describe the plant community. Okay, usually that involves getting a list of plants and figuring out how much, in this case, frequency and cover they have. So I know that in order to describe the plant community, I'm going to have cover by species, and I'm going to have frequency by species. That will give me the data that I need to describe the plant community. So let's start with that. Go back to our data. A couple of things I'm going to do here is I can't see the whole data set, so I'm just going to view. I'm going to change the view to 75%. Look at now I can see almost everything in the data. I'm going to make this a pretty small. I don't really need to know all those observers over there. I can see everything I need. Now, I know that I need to look at plants by species. So let's start by sorting these data by species. We know we have 5 transects. That's going to become important in the end. I'm going to sort the data. Data. Sort. I have a header because I highlighted the column labels. So that's my header. I'm going to click that, and I know that I have species code is what I'm going to sort by. Oh, great. So now I have a data set where I have it by species. Now there's a lot of ways that we could get these hits by species. I'm going to use a way that is fairly straightforward, not the easiest method, but it's really straightforward, so that's what we're going to look at. We need to know how many hits out of 75 there were of Acme, which is Western Yarrow, in the smallest, medium, and largest plot size. Remember, we had 4 plot sizes, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, easy enough. How many times was there Achillea millefolium in the plot size small? To do this, we're going to use a COUNTIF statement. The easiest way to do it, just to visualize it, is to go to this function formula. I want to do COUNTIF, and there's my COUNTIF statement right there. The range that I want to count within is this range right here. And what I want to count is if anything in that range equals 1. Okay, it says there's 0. Okay, I'm looking at that range. Yep, that's indeed true. There's 0. So now we can do COUNTIF again. Function COUNTIF, double click on that. My range is this range again. All the data for Achillea. And now I want to know if it equals 2. In plot size 3, I want to do roughly the same thing. Function COUNTIF, anything in this range right here, if it equals 3. It says there's 1. Okay, looking again at the data, I always like to check back to the data. There it is. There's 1, 3, and now finally, don't see any 4, so if my formula is correct, I should have 0. I'm going to go COUNTIF. In this range right here, if everything equals 4. Yep, there's 0. So that takes care of that. So all is looking well for Achillea. We only had one observation out, only one line. Out of 5 lines, there's 15 plots on each line. So out of 75 plots, it was found only once in plot size 2 and only once in plot size 3. So pretty uncommon. Now let's look at another species. We want to know how many times on those 5 lines did observers find sagebrush, Artemisia tridentata 2. Just to make it easier, I'm going to change the color of this area. There we go. So now these are the ones I'm looking for. Now, a simple way to do this would be, since I know that I need the total of all the Artemisia, I'm just going to do the COUNTIF for this whole area, all the Artemisias. Okay, so back to COUNTIF. This time my range is going to be for everything within the times that we encountered Artemisia. I'm going to still want to know first if it equals 1, and then I'm going to want to know if it equals 2. Function COUNTIF, this whole area for sagebrush. And then I want to know if it equals 2. Next one, I'm going to do another COUNTIF. for this range right here, all the Artemisia that was encountered. This time I want to know if it equals 3. And last but not least, let's look at 4. Do my count if formula again. Yeah. Okay. For this range, sorry, small error. Back to the beginning. Excel helpfully tells you if you're wrong. So there we go. Now, again, I like to just double check it, and it looks about right. Let's see if I've got 3 occasions of 4, so that looks fine. Now I'm going to tell you how I'll come about getting this data to clean up a little bit later, but let's continue to go down and look at other plants. Here we have several Brotex, so I'm going to just highlight those so I can see them. We've got a couple of Festuca idahoensis. Again, just highlight that so I can see it. 1 Lomatium. I got 2 plantains. I have 3 bulbous bluegrass Pobus. Got a bunch of posies. I'll just leave those there. And here's some blue bunch wheatgrass, which I know is important. I know that's something I'm going to need. Got a couple of Sials, which is a kind of mustard. And then I got 1 last. Okay, so now I know what species I have, and I can make, I can get the total count for all of those, each species. Now there's kind of a shortcut that you can use. I can copy some of these things over. So I'm going to copy this down to here. When you double click on the formula, it'll tell you what range it's summing from. So I want to know what all the Brotex are. So I'm going to change the range. Hit return. So here again, I double click on this formula. It says it is counting if this range, D12 to R15 equals 2. I actually want to go if D11 to R15 equals 2. One more. So it's kind of a shortcut to just work on the ranges instead of all the numbers. Okay. Again, so I'll just go ahead and copy that down to here. Again, I'm going to change the range on those. Double click on the formula, you'll see the range. You can change it or check it. And then there's one more thing to do. I only have 1 line here. If I only had 1 line up here, so if I just copy that right down, it should be fine. Again, if I double check it, I can see it's got the right range. Okay, so you kind of see how you could copy that formula down, always double checking the range. I'm going to put you on hold and I'll finish up this data sheet. Okay, so now you can see that I finished up the whole data sheet and I have numbers for each of the plants. So I have a total of all the occurrences in all of the transects in which the plant was examined. There's one more thing we want to do though. I want to clean up this data set a little, and if I just cut some of the lines out, these are formulas, so it will change the formula. For example, look what happens right here. If I delete this line, just to clean it up, you'll see that goes to 1. Well, we don't want to do that because it goes to 1 because this is a formula. And do that. Now, what I need to do is to convert these numbers here, convert these formulas to a value. So just highlight the area that I want converted. I'm going to copy. I'm going to paste special, and this is the pasting values instead of pasting formulas. So now these are formulas. These are numbers. They're not formulas. So now if I delete this row, that stays a 3. This value stays 3 because it's a number now. So now I'm going to get rid of all these extraneous rows that I don't need so that I have a nice clean data set. Okay, a couple more. And let's get thing. There's the undo button. You never know when you'll need that. I'm almost there. There are, of course, simple ways to do this. This is just the most straightforward. Okay, one more. Now I can see that I have all of the hits whenever a plant occurred in any of those 5 transects. Now I am going to just hide these values here so I can focus on the hits. Hide. There we go. Now I know the species. I know what transect it was in. I know how many hits there were. Remember, there were 5 teams, 15 plots. So if I wanted to know the frequency here, I could go, how many hits were there within 75? Because there were 75 plots observed, and there was 0. Copy that down. Another thing I'll probably do is turn this into a percentage by changing the formula. Oh, that looks pretty good. I copy that over. Okay. So that's the data. That's all the data from nested frequency 2014. You can do the same thing for nested frequency 2015. Again, start by sorting. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to sort by species. I'm going to sum by species. Then I'm going to clean up the data. And then I can compare. Clean up the data meaning getting rid of all those extra lines. Okay, so that's all you're going to need to do. That's nested frequency.